Tell me who rock, who sell out in the stores. You tell me who flop, who cop the blue drop, who jewels got blocks, who's mostly Dolce down to the blue drop. The same old pimp, Mace, you know ain't nothing changed but my limp. Can't stop till I see my name on the blimp. Guarantee a million sales, pull a level up. You don't believe in Harlem World, nigga, double up. We don't play around, it's a bet, lay it down. Niggas didn't know me 91, bet they know me now. I'm the young Harlem nigga with the Goldie sound. Can't no PD niggas hold me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very good evening to you all. It is a Wednesday night. It is time for the Money Time podcast. My name is Zweli Zindlela. For those who do not know me as yet, I'm of course not alone. I am with Mrs. Nikki Frelinghouse. Mrs. Frelinghouse, how are you doing today?
Evening, everyone. I'm doing great. Hope everyone's well and warm.
Certainly hope that everyone is well and warm. Those are always, this is always what we always say, that we hope you are well and warm, because we believe that you should be looking after yourself all the time. The Money Time podcast promotes a healthy mind, a healthy body. So you always need to look after yourself. It's not only always about money here. It's about everything. So we make sure that we promote good health. And if you've listened to some of the previous podcasts of ours, you learn that those are the things that we teach and promote. Nikki, before we get on today's topic, just a few reminder to the viewers that we will be having a different approach moving forward. We've got a new slot, so we're doing away with the Q&A session, and it's because we are always learning, and we've learned that most podcasts do not apply that. And then what we are introducing is we will be having additional guests on our second podcast each and every month. So just to let people know on that, your thoughts on our new approach, Nikki?
So I'm quite excited about it, and I'd like to encourage the viewers, if there's anyone who's keen on joining us on the podcast, DM either Zweli or myself, tell us a little about yourself. We just want to reach out to ordinary people out there doing ordinary things, get you onto the podcast, and honor you as our guest and get the podcast flowing.
Definitely. You know, what's ordinary to you may be extraordinary to us. So don't ever underestimate what you are capable of doing or what you can teach us. So what you regard ordinary to yourself will probably be extraordinary to us, because to you, you are too used to it, you are too comfortable with it, you just feel, it's just mean, and only to realize that maybe when we get to listen to you, we get to learn something new, and which we will find probably extraordinary. You know,
and
Nikki,
the other viewers out there as well, you know, they could be inspired by your story and your journey.
Definitely. So yeah, we inviting viewers, listeners to obviously contact us directly so each and every month we'll have 2 podcasts every month. In between, it's gonna be a week, and then we will have a break and another week. So we will have enough time to also prepare for any topics that, or anyone who is a guest that will be coming through. So excited about today's topic, Nikki. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages, Money Time Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, what brings us today, this evening, is the topic, Nikki. It's today's podcast number 7, I think, episode number 7.
Is it
6.
7 or is it 6?
Yeah. I think it's isn't it? Yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's 7, not
Okay.
6. So our topic today is buyer's remorse. Remorse to buy or not to buy. That is the question. Nikki, very interesting topic, and I'm sure a lot of people have gone through this, but probably they did not know what is it called. Why choose such a topic, Nikki?
So, firstly, at the Money Time podcast, we've got to keep things exciting, right? We've got to find ways to keep our viewers' interest. So that's why I thought of the topic. But on a more serious note, this is something that has actually been coming up quite frequently during my money coaching sessions with clients. And I thought it's something that we should actually discuss on the podcast.
Yeah, it seems to be a very serious problem that people have experienced, but I also did not know how to define it, but I have experienced it quite a lot of times with small and bigger things. And so we're going to look into that remorse, buyer's remorse. And the question is to buy or not to buy. And sometimes you question yourself already having bought. So it's very tricky. So what is that, Nikki? It was like I said, okay, I already know, but how do you define that for viewers? What is buyer's remorse?
So, Zweli, you've touched on it quite nicely already. Buyer's remorse is something that we feel when we've purchased an item. That initial high and that excitement you feel, when you're going to purchase it, or there's something you've identified that you'd like to purchase, and all those feelings you conjure up about how amazing it will be when you have this purchase, right? And now you've got this purchase, you back home, you unbox it, you unwrap it, and you've got this item now, and that feeling, that high, that excitement starts fizzling away. And now you've got this feeling of, should I have bought it? Can I afford it? Is this really something that I want? But why did it look better on someone else? And you get a whole lot of mixed feelings. And that high starts slowly sliding to give you a feeling of uncertainty, anxiousness, regret. And that is what buyer's remorse is. Basically, a change in your feeling and state of mind after having purchased an item that you initially wanted.
Question is, does it sound familiar to anyone? I'm sure it does. I know that people have gone through this, where you purchase an item, you're so excited, you even unwrap it, you get home, you're so excited, and then after 2 weeks, something hits you, or after even 2 hours, something starts hitting you to start thinking, was this the right decision? So yeah, I think, Nick, you've explained it very well. Obviously, we'll have to look at how to avoid that, or how do we deal with that whenever that situation arises. But I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this with smaller things and with bigger things. And some people won't even believe that experience and research will tell you that you can experience this buyer's remorse, even having bought a house, even having bought a car. So it's very tricky. Imagine taking such a big decision. You take your maybe 50,000 deposit, you buy a house, and all of a sudden, a week later, you feel like you made a mistake. What could be the cause, or what are the tips on how to avoid these things, Nikki?
So, Zweli, there's quite a few tips that I can share with the viewers out there. A lot of these tips are things that I've learned during my time at the Money Coaching Institute, during my studies. And some of these tips are things that I also recommend to a lot of my money coaching clients. So the first one that I'd like to introduce the viewers to is what we call the 72-hour rule. So what this means is, for example, you've decided there's a particular watch that you want to purchase, and you've seen it on a particular website, and you look at it and you look at the price tag and you think, should I, shouldn't I? You know, and instead of immediately clicking the add to cart and completing your transaction, you wait for 72 hours. So what that rule does is it gives you a period of 72 hours to revisit your decision. Because you'll find maybe at the point in time when you looked at the watch and you wanted to put it in your shopping cart, something could have happened, or you could have seen something or experienced something. You know, a lot of these ads and these marketing people are absolute geniuses, right? They can market anything to you, and you take a look at it, and you know marketing's great when you see something and it immediately creates this feeling within you that you need to purchase something. And this is even though you already have a watch that's functional, there's no issues with it, but now you see this other watch and you're like, no, this is something I need to purchase. So by waiting for 72 hours, you go back to your shopping cart, and this has been proven before. Often people look at the item and they realize, you know what, I no longer need it, because that fantasy or that feeling or that emotion that you felt initially 72 hours prior would have subsided over a period of time. So that's what we call the 72-hour rule. Zweli, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this particular rule, or if it's something that you've thought about before or experienced.
Yes, well, I've got a thought that most probably this would be easy to implement. Like, I think it's something we've already spoken about, especially on the online shopping.
Yeah.
Most of the time, because well, also practical, you can still apply this within the physical stores, where you just go and see something and then you give yourself time. So let's not only say you put it in the cart and then you leave it on the online store, but as a tip, you can actually go and look at something, it's exciting, and you feel that you really want it, then you can just go home. And because I don't see anyone going from Gauteng going to Limpopo to shop, so it should be somewhere around where you'd be able to come back after 72 hours. So yes, because if you were to decide to go to the furthest shop to try and buy something, then you might end up doing impulsive buying because of the distance. But obviously try and shop around closer to your area so that you don't feel like you'll miss out. Because I think, Nikki, this tip, it should be something that we learn and try and implement, and it makes sense. If the feeling subsides, then it simply means that it's not something you really wanted or needed. All of a sudden, the hype has gone down about the item, then you really know that this is not for me. And then you can obviously avoid the buyer's remorse, finding yourself questioning whether you should have bought the item or not.
The next tip would be, and this one's a very big one, you know, and I hope that viewers actually take this one to heart. So for example, if we go back to the watch, right, and say it was a watch that you wanted and the watch costs 3,000 rands, right? I always say to clients when we have our coaching sessions is to say, equate how much that would link back to working hours, right? So if this item costs 3,000 rands and you only get paid, say 200 rands per day, right? How many hours or how many days of work would it equate to you getting that item? And when you do the calculation, this as well, most of the time, people think of the item, they think of the hours they put in that would equate to purchasing the item, and most clients end up saying, I either don't need it or else I can find something at a far more cheaper price.
Okay, so I like this. I really like the thought around this one, because obviously, if like your examples are showing that you start gauging whether it's worth buying the item. If it's gonna say you wanna buy a watch for that 6,000 rands, and 3,000, and then you are earning 200 rands a day, it means that half of the month of and remember, when we say half of the month, it doesn't mean that it's gonna be 15 hours. No, it's literally 15 days of your work to get that item. So the question is it worth it? When you are earning, maybe say, let's look at, maybe say you're earning 6,000. So 50% would go to a watch. So that's how you'd look at it. Well, I think the question will come from you as a person, whether it's worth it or not. But yeah, I really like that. And I think it's something that people can try and implement. Next tip, Nikki.
Sorry, Zweli.
No, I was saying the next tip, if you still have more.
Yeah, I've got quite a few here. So
Okay.
the next one links back to some of our previous podcasts. And now I'm actually going to contradict myself here, is to say avoid shopping apps and subscriptions or newsletters, right? So what do I mean by this? Here, I'm going to use the example of Clicks, and we are not being sponsored by Clicks or endorsed by Clicks. I'm just using it as an example. So a few days ago, I got an email from Clicks, and on the email, they tell me what my cashback bonus is, which is obviously trying to now encourage me to spend it, and also a list of all their specials as we close to month end, right? So the reason why I use this as an example is to say that the more subscriptions or newsletters you subscribe to, the more of these you're going to get, and you're going to see all their offers, and then you're going to think, oh, wow, this watch is on special, and you get this emotional connection to the item, and the next thing you know it, you've purchased the item, and you now unwrapping the item, and you're getting this feeling of remorse. So the best way a very good way to avoid buyer's remorse is try not to subscribe to many newsletters, try not to have many online shopping apps on your phone, or alternatively, try and stay away from the mall or shopping centers. Because if you're away, you're not going to be tempted. Or a lot of people like to only go to shopping centers late in the afternoon or evening at about 6, 7 in the evening, where they just go for dinner or movies, and most shops are closed at that point in time. So all they can do is window shop.
Good one, Nikki. As you are talking, I'm thinking of a lot of things. When you look at, like, I know, sorry to mention, but I also used to subscribe to Take a Lot on one of my emails, and they don't make a mistake. Every day you'll get an email from Take a Lot. And now when you think about it, you can easily buy something, end up doing experiencing buyer's remorse, because you feel like, these guys are always communicating with me.
But I mean, really, you in tech, you know how these algorithms work, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, the AI is very much used, and in fact, that's one thing we will touch as well, Nikki. But when you think about it, you end up buying something because it's on special. Like you want to buy something because it's on special, but the question is, do you need it? No, you are buying it because it's on special. So one of the days that also people end up experiencing buyer's remorse is Black Friday, because
Oh, yes.
we want to line up for the sake of everyone going to the shops. You don't want to be left behind. You end up coming back with you've got a 60-inch television, a smart TV. You go and get a 62-inch. The difference is this much. That's how much the difference is. This is 2-inch. So you had a 60-inch, now you're going for a 62. And there's nothing wrong with your 60-inch, but for the sake of it being cheaper, now you've got two TVs. You know what you'll end up with? You'll end up with the one sitting in front and the one at the back. Because you didn't plan proper. But I like what you are saying, to say let's avoid. It's a tip, by the way. It's not something that we say you should do when you know very well that you need those subscription and all that. But avoid, if you don't want to experience buyer's remorse, avoid subscription to a lot of things and getting notification that this and this is on special. Those are the things that can really cause buyer's remorse. Thank you very much, Nico, on this one. But like you've touched on the artificial intelligence that is being used, the algorithms that that are being used. So in a lot of situations lately, if people realize when you search through your phone, whether you search on Google or Facebook, or say, for example, if you inquired about a ticket, a flight ticket, when you go to your social media, if you went to Google and maybe searched for FlySafair or whoever, when you go to your Facebook, you'll start seeing a lot of things about
Yes.
it. And you're thinking, hey, these people, they know what I'm looking for. It's the AI, so it's the artificial intelligence that has been used, the algorithms to look at what interests you. And obviously what interests you could be what is trending. It could be like literally you could be searching for a flight ticket, a FlySafair, because you heard that there's a 9 rand special. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you want to fly for 9 rand, but you do not even have the destination where you want to go, but you feel like, you know what, I want to fly. Good enough, you do it, you get the 18 rand return ticket to Durban. But so you're thinking, I'm going to spend 18 rands to Durban. When you come back, you spend 3,018 rands. And that was not part of the other 3,000 you had to spend at Durban, where you just had fun, you ate, and you went to Shaka Marine, you know. But the idea was just to fly for 18 rands. But now you've ended up in a situation which you did not want to be in. But I thank you, Nikki, for showing us the importance of not just doing something like being involved in a lot of subscription and to avoid this buyer's remorse. Thank you so much. More tips?
The next one is a very powerful one. Now, this one works for physical, physical shopping at a mall or a shopping center, where I recommend that you leave home with cash and not your cards. So, for example, you are going to Sandton City Mall. You leave home with 1,000 rands in your wallet, right? Now, when you're at the mall, you know, you're going to have to get something to eat. You may need money to pay for your transport back home if you're not driving, or if you're driving, you need to pay for your ticket. You may need to pay for petrol. And then, you know, if you're buying things, you're going to need money for that. And if you use the cash rule and all you have is 1,000 Rand in your wallet, you may walk around to a few different shops, you look at items, there's things you want to buy. But if all you have is 1,000 Rands and you have no card in your wallet, how are you going to buy the other items, right? So in a way, it restricts you. So that cash method is very powerful. Now, I've had some clients who have actually challenged me on this. A client said to me, Nikki, oh, but I've got my phone with me and my banking app. I can just do an e-wallet or a cash send and just go to the ATM and withdraw the cash. Yes, you can, but that's very sneaky, right? But if your intent is good and if you say, this is it, I'm going to the mall and all I have is 1,000 Rands, you make a list of the things you need to purchase or the stores that you need to go to. It's absolutely amazing how you'd actually come back home with cash in your wallet. This whole thing about using a bank card, as much as I love it for convenience, but this whole thing about tapping your card, hey, sometimes when you go into a mall, you come back home and you look at all your receipts because it's so easy to tap, 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 right? And you come back home and you look at all the things you've purchased and you calculate your spend and you realize, wow, it's like 500, 1,000, 1,200 Rands just goes in an hour or two because it's so easy to tap. So using the cash method will certainly help. But if it's online, then what I say to clients is do not save your card details online. Let's use your example for Take-A-Lot, Zweli. If you've got your Take-A-Lot profile, you would have obviously saved your bank details. It's so easy. Something will come up. It will be matched to something you've researched before. You see it and you think, oh, wow, it's a next day delivery or it's a 20% off. You put it in your card. You just click it. Your payment method appears and you hit purchase. And before you know it, in 2 or 3 days' time, you get your package. And then you think, did I really need this package? But your card details are already on your profile, right? It makes it very easy for you to make that purchase. What are your thoughts, Zweli?
Yeah, no, there's a lot that I'm thinking. In fact, when you started about cash, first thing that came into mind was my apps. But obviously, on this point, I also think that cash would be easy to handle because you are right. You are so right. The feeling of tapping, people like that. Does it tap? Of course. You know, it feels so light to tap, but I also know that it's very difficult to take out when you actually realize that I had 2,000 Rands. What's going on? Why am I now having 1.8? You start being skeptical. So the physical cash keeps you awake more than tapping because tapping
It really does.
It's very light. You know, there we go. You know, even swiping, you know, there is nicknames. They will call you swiping. It means you swipe very easy. So tapping has even made things worse. So I really like the tip, and it makes sense, Nikki, because you know, the more I think about it, tapping is very light. It's very easy. It's very, you know, it has that you know, element of being so I don't even know. I need the right word for this one.
Convenient.
Well, I don't want to use convenient. But in the A game, you know, yeah, you are within things. Yeah, those are so it really looks very nice to tap. It makes you feel like, yeah, you know, it's just It's that simple. But the reality is that you could be actually tapping your last 100 rand, like literally, and not feel it until you realize that I don't have money. That's how light tapping is. But when it's cash, it's difficult to take out your last 100 rand and just spend it, knowing that I'm not gonna have cash moving forward. I won't have money moving forward. So I really like the tip, because I really believe that in this case, cash is king compared to tapping when it comes to avoiding
For sure.
buyer's remorse. Yeah, and I think even your clients, like when they say they put you on that challenge, I'm glad that you put it straight, that that's no longer, that's you being aware of what you are doing. Because when you look at buyer's remorse, it's something that happens somewhere at the back of your mind until you realize late. But when you now taking your card, or that's no longer, it's not a problem that you are not seeing, it's you actually realizing what you are doing.
And
It's
then,
now,
Zweli, sorry,
yes,
if I can just add a bit more to this, this whole thing of tapping, let's not forget there's a difference between a debit card and a credit card, right? A credit card's always going to have that revolving credit available to you unless you've exhausted your credit card. Whereas at least with a debit card, if you have your last $100 and it's gone, right? But with a credit card, if you've got an available balance, you can just tap, 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 and that's the reason, or swipe, and that's the reason why people find themselves overburdened by debt, because using a card makes it so easy for you to purchase things that you don't need and you may have not budgeted for. And that's where that whole thing of buyer's remorse comes from as well.
I'm telling you, you would see people pulling ballet moves at the mall with a card. That's how that's how simple it is. You just move around, pulling all these ballet moves, because you feel so light. You have a credit card or a debit card that you can tap around, but you end up regretting based on now the bill that you are facing, and you find yourself in a situation that you did not want to be in. So yeah, any more tips, Nikki?
Another one is the why of your purchase, right? Let's go back to that example of the watch. And here you are, you see this watch online, you've put it in your cart and you're ready to purchase it, right? The why is, why do you need it? And remember from our budgeting podcast, this links to, is it a need or is it a want, right? Because your why sometimes is, you could have had a fight with your girlfriend and you're feeling really down and you need something to pick you up. And you see the watch and you think purchasing it is going to fill that gap and make you feel better, right?
Yeah.
Alternatively, you could be with a group of friends and one of your friends bought a new watch and you feel that you need to have something better than Zweli, right? Because how can Zweli have a better watch than you? Sometimes the motivations or the reasons for us buying things don't necessarily make sense, right? Now, remember, that's why I focus on money coaching, because it's all about your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors around money, right? And it's also linked to our decisions, because a lot of our decisions we make are not rational. A lot of our decisions are linked to emotions and what's happening to us at that point in time in our lives.
Yeah, Nikki, on that one, I'm actually trying, as you're talking, I'm trying to remember what is the term that, but it's mostly ladies, I'm sorry, unfortunately. always buy because they are stressed. They want to go. I don't know what is it called, but there is a term that they use for just wanting to shop in order to feel better. Do you know what the term
Okay,
is?
I'm trying to think well, I mean, there are many women out there who are shopaholics, and they shop because if you go down to the psychology around it, it's generally to fulfill a void in their lives, or it goes down to much deeper issues. And obviously, as you know, Zweli, these are things that I uncover during sessions with clients.
Yeah, as you're talking, so I'm actually literally thinking of an example, a silly one, to say, you know what, I've just lost my dog. I'm feeling so sad. I just want to go and do it. And then 2 days later, the dog comes back. And then now, like, you know what that I've bought, I did not need them. But basically, that's what it is. I like on this one, I do know that a lot of ladies would go and buy for the sake of feeling better. But then what happens if now you all of a sudden feel better? It means that you are now, do you want to return these things because you realize that I'm actually spending money that I did not have or that I did not want to spend, but because I felt, because sometimes you wake up feeling depressed, you wake up feeling down. It happens sometimes, you just feel not motivated. Then you want to go to shopping. And then now you feel better. And then you have so many clothes that you do not even wear, or I know there's a lot of people. How many new items do you have in your wardrobe, Nikki, that you haven't worn? Do you have any?
Zweli, remember I mentioned the 3-month rule in one of our podcasts. If you haven't used it in 3 months, you either donate it or sell it or do something with it.
So you don't
But
have.
But however, having said that, I'll be open, honest, and authentic and say there are possibly, strong possibility, a lot of items that I have that I do not use.
No, no, fair enough. I don't want to sound like I'm attacking anyone, but I just wanted to know from you. But I know that there are a lot of people who end up with clothes they bought because they felt that they needed them, but they're no longer wearing them. And they're not even they haven't worn them. And they're feeling like, I will, one day I will. But it's that thing of knowing very well, you know what, when I went and bought these things, it's that time I had a fight with Peter. And, we had an argument. Now we are good, me and Peter, and I don't see value in this thing. I don't even like the color of this dress. So those are the things. But then, yeah, thank you very much on the tips. So I think I'll go direct now to asking your personal experience on bias remorse. Your personal experience, not your clients, your own.
Zweli, you're really putting me on the spot today, hey? So earlier on, when we kicked off the podcast and you spoke about buyer's remorse, you mentioned a few examples like purchasing a house or a car and having the feeling of buyer's remorse. And when you mentioned that, I felt like you were psychic. I felt that feeling of what you also always mention, witchcraft. And I felt like you were literally speaking about me. And I mean, I've experienced both a house and a car, but my biggest buyer's remorse example or experience that I can actually share with you all is that a few years ago I had some lifestyle changes, and I looked at buying a new place, and I knew what my budget was. I knew the area I was looking at buying in. I knew the size of apartment I wanted, number of rooms, a whole lot of things. I'm quite clear about what I want when I make purchases, big or small. So off I go and I find a particular place. And, estate agents are like absolutely amazing at the work that they do. Hey, and the agent says to me, listen, there's several people interested. If you don't put in an OTP, offer to purchase, there's quite a few other people who are interested. They may put in an offer to purchase, and this is the only unit that has gone on sale in this particular complex over the last 2 years. And, they give you the whole marketing thing. And here, from an emotional perspective, right? You think, oh my gosh, what if I lose this unit? And obviously, when you enter a place, you enter like looking at each room, right? I entered the lounge and I'm like, ooh, this is where my TV will fit in. I can see myself here. You look at the kitchen and you think, oh, I can see myself cooking here, and you make that emotional connection. And before I knew it, here I was putting in an offer to purchase. And it gets better, right? The agent comes back and she says, sorry, your offer was too low. The seller has declined it. And now I sit and I think to myself, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? I knew the amount that I qualified for. I knew the amount that I could afford to pay. Obviously, you want to try and get something much lower because it's preferable. And I thought, okay, fine, let me go higher. I put in a new offer to purchase and it's accepted. Long story short, Zweli, what the estate agent did not say to me was that the owner sold the place because there was a tenant living there who had not paid rental for months on end. And I inherited a property where I couldn't evict a tenant. And that started a 6 to 7 year long, dramatic, traumatic experience around that particular property. And here's the thing, when my first offer to purchase was declined, something within me, that little voice, my intuition said to me, you know what, by putting in another offer, you actually paying more than what the property could possibly be worth, and, you write the pros and cons, you think about it. And then I thought to myself, you know what, I don't have the time, the energy to keep on looking at places. And I really like this place. It's okay. I'll put in the offer. And for me, that has been to date in my lifetime, the number one biggest buyer's remorse that I've actually experienced in my life.
Yeah, no, that one I didn't expect. When I was making the examples, I didn't see that one coming. I truly feel sorry on that one, and but it sounded like it was a very tough experience.
It was.
To spend money on something and still struggle to get access to it. So I guess a lot of people can start thinking, especially viewers, their own experience and reflect and say, but I'm sure that you've learned from that, Nikki. And sometimes we have to go through these things in order for ourselves to be better. Because I know that it's also one of the things that you do, that property
sure.
thing. So I'm sure it helped you a lot in your decision making now. Currently, you always refer to that. And yeah, so I guess we need to be careful and always also try and not fall into the trap of feeling like it's gonna be too late for me to get this thing. Because sometimes these agents, they do that, salespeople there, that's what they do.
Yes.
And sometimes sometimes, Nikki, you are lucky, you probably struggled and eventually got your property back. Some people don't get anything.
True.
I don't even want to go to my personal experience. Because
Zweli, come on now. This is unfair. You put me on the spot. Aren't you going to share one of your experiences around buyer's remorse with us?
well, this one, I don't even, because the thing is, we didn't even get the item. So probably my business partners then will probably remember this one. So what had happened is we saw an ad on I think it was Country but it was those credible
I don't
online.
know if Gumtree is credible. Let me just say that without being judgmental.
And I think it either Country or OLX. Then it was so now we saw this car there. I think it was a Corsa, and we just needed a small car for the office runarounds and all that. And so we inquire on the car. This guy says, no, the car is available. When you look at the pictures, everything looks fine. It looks proper. But the price, I think it was like 10,000. And we're like, "Ah, man, your car is too. Why is your car looking so good and you don't have your the price is too low?" He says, "No, you know what? Me and my wife are fighting, and we just want to get rid of the car. We are actually divorcing, so we are just selling everything off." Me and my partners, we discuss it, and like, I don't trust this guy. And he says, "No, you can come and get the car." And we're like, "Okay." I says, "Yeah, you see, the trouble is I don't even have petrol. I could actually drive." He says he's in Vereeniging. We're in Joburg. He says, "I can actually drive there." That's how serious this thing is. But you see, I'm struggling with petrol. And for some reason, we believe in this guy. we think, no, okay. So we say, "Okay, for you to get here." He says, "No, I just need 1,000 rand to come with the car and give it to you. And then you give me the rest when we get there." You know, the mind is silly. You're thinking, it's 1,000 rand. What is there to lose? And we felt it the whole day. We deposited the money, the guy switched off his phone. He literally cooked us. But that was remorse buying, because when we somehow felt obliged to buy this car, and we didn't actually have to. But for some reason, because the guy, after he spoke to us, we felt like, man, let's just do it, because we need the car. But even after that, the business could carry on without this car, and we had lost 1,000 rand. But we felt it the whole day that, you know what, this guy. We knew that it wouldn't have affected us so much in our account, but we actually felt it. We felt like, you shouldn't have done this. We had enough not to feel the 1,000 rand, but it got to us. And yeah, that was my experience. But also the other experience, it was not with me. It was with my late brother. May his soul rest in pieces, Sfiso. So he wanted a car. And you know that 72-hour thing?
Yes.
Then if he was around, then it would have helped him. So we went, looked for a car, but he was sure he wanted a car. So we said, okay, we'll go around. I took my car, we drove around, we went to places where they said, no, you can check these places, there's affordable cars and all that. Up to a point where we got a very affordable car. I think it's a Hyundai, the small one. I can't remember. I forget the name. Then he says, no, definitely this one. Same day, he says, no, definitely this one. Well, are you sure? I know, definitely. Why? It's affordable. I think it was 13,000, and he said, no, this one definitely we are taking. we take the car. As we are driving back, the car drives well, but it doesn't give him the satisfaction that he wants. You can tell that he can, even, I think, even the power, everything that he was hoping for in a car. It's a small engine, you know. He's like, when we get home, he's like, you know what? I don't think this is the car for me. I'm like, huh? He says, no, this one was the wrong decision. We had to go back after 2 days and we got him a car, I think that was much higher and I think double the price, somewhere around 30 there. And it was a Toyota Conquest. And after that, he enjoyed the car. He loved the car. He took care of the car. So that experience, I know it very well. I've seen it with other family members and friends. But yeah, those are the two that I can actually recall, vividly. That those are the ones that I can relate to my buyer's remorse experience.
So, Zweli, thanks for sharing. I'm so sorry to hear about what you and your business partners experienced with the Corsa, and also sad to hear about what your brother experienced with the first car. What comes to mind, listening to your stories and even my own, is a concept that I share a lot with clients while in session. And this concept is about the thrill of the chase or the fantasy being far greater than the reality, right? So sometimes we look at things and we feel that this is something we want to buy, and we fantasize about how amazing it would be when we have this, right? Whether it's a house, like the way I said, I could picture myself in that particular home, right? And that was one of the driving factors for me to put in the offer to purchase. In your brother's case, like, he wanted a car and he thought this Hyundai was something that he could see himself driving, right? And even maybe when he took it for a test drive, he felt this was the vehicle for him. But when we have this item or the purchase, that fantasy now becomes a reality, and you find yourself, this is where the buyer's remorse comes in, and you realize that the fantasy, what was happening in your mind, is far greater than the reality. And you realize, some people like the thrill of the chase, right? If it's something they want, they'll do anything possible to save the money or find a way to get what they want. And when they have it, they realize it was all about the chase, right? And not about actually acquiring, not actually about getting the item.
No, Nikki. Yeah, no, I do agree. Sometimes, the fantasy, it's far off from the reality. It's very true. Because also when, in fact, the lesson on our experience, it was that it should never happen again. And somebody tried to do the same thing again to us, but we were like, we're not falling on this one. But I like what you are saying, that the fantasy is far fetched from the reality, and that's and it's always in the mind, but in reality, it's not the case. So I think what we are saying as the Money Time podcast is that let's rather face reality than try and look at the fantasy, because I've seen this, that also people who do online shopping actually fantasize based on the item that he sees, or like he sees himself wearing the same thing, exactly looking as the person who's advertising it. But and the reality is that Do you see yourself having the same height as this person, the same physique? And maybe it's close, but it's not, because it looks like, but it's not. You know, it looks like he's got the same physique as me and all that. Then the item comes. It does no longer feel the same way because the fantasy was far-fetched from the reality. So I think our reality will make us also avoid bias remorse. If we look at our reality, because our reality will check budget, our reality will check the needs and wants, our reality will check affordability, our reality will check a lot of things, but at the end of the day, our reality will come back to us and says, I don't need this. And you end up making the right choices, because if we go with the fantasy, we are going to get hurt. We're really going to get hurt. Like I'm thinking, imagine myself in this Corsa driving it. That's what I'm thinking, but the Corsa is not here. It's not even here. And now, so those are the experiences that we had to go through. You are saying, I'm seeing myself sitting in this house, but you don't even know if you got. So those are the things that you you experience. And I'm also taking this as a great lesson today, that the reality should make us avoid bias remorse. Our realities will make us avoid this experience.
So, Zweli, there's another quick example that comes to mind as I hear you speak, you know. And this one's more for the ladies, maybe guys, who knows. I'd like to use the example of the MAC Cosmetics brand. And they actually have physical stores as well as an online website. And if you want to purchase one of their lipsticks, you can actually take a selfie of yourself and actually try on the different shades of lipsticks. And you can actually see what it looks like on you. And it's done so well that, I mean, you can choose your shade of lipstick online by taking a selfie of yourself and just purchasing everything online. So what I'm trying to get at is marketing has really evolved over the last few years, whether it's online, whether it's face-to-face, whether people are marketing through podcasts or YouTube or other platforms, Instagram, whatever it is, marketing is really now marketing on steroids. And it takes a great deal of mental courage to fight the heart, right? Because there's the head and there's the heart. And the head is saying, listen, be mentally strong. We do not need this lipstick. You know, stay away from the website. But the heart is saying, hey, look at the selfie of me. Look at the shade of lipstick on me. I'm looking so great. I'm actually rocking it, you know. I'm slaying it. Let me purchase it. So this whole thing about buyer's remorse is very much around psychology. It's very much around emotion and the struggle between the head and the heart. And yes, you know, we do know that the heart wants what the heart wants, right? But stay strong, stay mentally strong, and try and utilize some of the tips that we've mentioned to you. And hopefully that will help you and help you avoid buyer's remorse in the future.
There you go. You heard it here on the Money Time podcast. Nikki, you've said it very well. I also feel that it's more on the emotion and the psychology. So we need to be very apply our emotional intelligence when it comes to shopping in order not to fall for buyer's remorse. Fight the heart with your mind. Tell your heart that, listen here, my heart, I don't have money. That's it. It will be sad, it will cry, but at least it will know the reality, because the reality is that I cannot afford this, but the heart wants it. But because you have enough money to buy this thing, you end up buying it, but you can't afford it. Because sometimes when we say you can't afford it, people think it's because you do not have money. No, you might have money to buy it. Like you say you've got 10,000 and this thing is 200 rands. You can't afford it based on the other things that you still have to do. Maybe your house, it's 6,000 rands, your groceries, and this thing is just 200 rands. But because it's not part of your budget, you can't afford it. So those are the things that you have to fight with your heart to say, listen, I cannot afford this. But Nikki, just to close it, thank you so much for the tips, for the teaching. I think this was a very, very insightful session for me. I've learned a lot myself. I hope the listeners at home also are going to enjoy this and learn from this podcast episode. Thank you very much for this one. Your thoughts on your last words, because that was me wrapping up.
So my last words to viewers out there is to say, if you find yourself in a state of buyer's remorse, don't judge yourself. Don't be harsh on yourself. You know, this happens to everyone. As you can hear, Zweli's been through it. I've been through it. And I'm certain every viewer who's listening has definitely been through it, if they're honest, right? Really, no judgment. Just be gentle on yourself and learn from the podcast. You know, we all human. We all learn from our so-called mistakes or areas of growth and improvement. And we trust that going forward in the future, your buyer's remorse won't be as great as what it used to be in the past.
Yeah, just one word to family members and friends. Do not feel bad if a person feels that they do not need your product, because that's where a lot of buyer's remorse can really come from. Because I feel that you are my friend and you are always crying for support, and when people don't buy, you don't talk to them, and they end up like, hey, you know what, let me just buy for the sake of peace. Once we start saying that, it's going to end up being buyer's remorse. So as viewers, if you are a business person or you are a salesperson, do not feel bad if people around you are not buying from you. There are other people that really need your product. So we must just learn and be considerate of those things, because a person may end up going to buy your items just for the sake of the friendship. And when you see them, they don't wear your items, you're thinking, why are you not wearing my items? Says, I know, I will wear it, but the truth is they don't like it and they just bought it because of the sake of being a friend. So yeah, it is the Money Time podcast. Nikki, your thoughts? Minase, I'm wrapping up, I'm done.
Okay, we're really wrapping up this time. Good evening, everyone. Take care until we next meet. And please do engage with us on social media and have a wonderful rest of the evening.
Bye, everyone.
Who not? Tell me who rock, who sell out in the stores. You tell me who flop, who cop the blue drop, who jewels got blocks, who's mostly Dolce down to the blue drop. The same old pimp, Mace, you know ain't nothing changed but my limp. Can't stop till I see my name on the blimp. Guarantee a million sales, pull a level up. You don't believe in Harlem World, nigga, double up. We don't play around, it's a bet, lay it down. Niggas didn't know me 91, bet they know me now. I'm the young Harlem nigga with the Goldie sound. Can't no PD, niggas hold me down. Cooler, school me to the game, now I know my duty. Stay humble, stay low, blow like Hootie. True pimp, niggas spin no dough on the booty. And when you yell, there go Mace, there go your cutie.